No audio?
No audio at all.
Hi.
All right, so it's just that button?
Yep, we're done. We have the audio now.
Oh.
All right. Also, I forgot, this is saved as like a regular video for YouTube, and that's sort of the main point. So we don't really have to wait for people to get in here.
Oh. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how this works.
Me neither. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Today we are doing our patron deck techs for August because we got a little busy recording. We're getting ready, ramping up for the holidays and being gone and traveling. So we have been recording like crazy. We're doing like, what, 22 games in 2 months? It's a lot. It's a lot of games. So we were running a little bit behind on some of our patron stuff. So this is for August's deck lists. We're going to be doing 7 deck lists today. Those are sent out by, let me pull up the full list. You guys can find them down below in the description as well as links as well. But today's deck lists are submitted by BigDaddyMagic, TarBeast, Cheezus, Kai, Dshultz, Red, and Dusk. So we're going to be doing 7 today. Everybody should be able to hear us now, which is
very
ideally
quiet.
Is it very quiet? I wonder why. So this one normally has 2 tracks. Now it only has the 1.
Yeah, and it does look like it's pretty light.
That is the right mic. Audio is good, coming in good for Red. I think it's probably normal. My audio is usually pretty low. I'm not quite sure why. Okay, so the first one here, guys, is submitted by, not this one, can't do it in reverse order. The first one is submitted by BigDaddyMagic. I kept the primers and the description as well as the names. And our first list by BigDaddyMagic is the Commander Reality Chip, and the deck is named just a bit off the top. So we're gonna have to figure out why that is.
Yeah.
Other than the fact that the reality chip lets you take stuff off the top.
Yeah. Well, the most important thing about playing a deck with Sensei's Divining Top in it is that you have some sort of funny name that involves Sensei's Divining Top, because that's the reality chip's best friend.
Is that really? Why do you have to have something named for Sensei's Divining Top?
Because it's one extra layer of people not hating you for playing Sensei's Divining Top.
I see.
If you have a funny name, then they're like, okay.
All right.
Yeah, because this, I mean, like, it's a reality chip deck. Where there you are. So the whole deck is centered around getting this combination out. Because if the reality chip is equipped to a creature, then you can place cards off the top of your library. And Sensei's Divining Top lets you, if it's in play, you look at the top 3, great. You line up some good spells to be able to play, or, you know, in your case, always guarantee to hit your land drop.
I need those. I need help.
But the significant thing is because Sensei's Divining Top
catches too much grief for counterbalances sins.
No. Also, how did you do that?
What?
So how did they talk to me?
It's whenever someone sends bits, they can have the robot talk.
Oh, yeah, no, it's not because of counterbalance. I mean, like, that is one of many reasons that it has its reputation, but
while you're talking, I'm going to read some stuff up here.
Sure. The thing that you do is you have Sensei's Divining Top in play, you activate the second ability, which puts it back on top of your library, and you draw a card. But then the reality chip lets you just play Sensei's Divining Top off the top of your library. So you've spent 1 mana to draw a card and cast a spell and have an artifact come into the battlefield.
Okay.
That's a lot of stuff for 1 mana. So that's generally what this deck is trying to put together and then benefit.
The one thing we can always count on is BigDaddyMagic always types up the description and a pretty big primer for us to take a look at. Also looks like there are some other options to include for you to maybe peruse and see if you have any suggestions for.
Have done.
Excellent. All right, so let's I'm gonna, as always, Veggie's the deck tech guru here. I'm gonna let you lead. I'm just gonna help.
All right, well, let's go we'll go through the different sections. The includes here are going to fall under a couple different like categories. Some are just like, oh great, we have lots of artifacts entering the battlefield or getting cast, so we'll get little incremental value.
You're talking my language.
Right.
I like that.
Yeah. Well, and Scry plus a reality chip, even better. Reducers are very, very important here because they allow you to go infinite.
Boo!
Yeah, because if your Sensei's Divining Top costs 0 mana, then you can just play it off the top of your library for nothing, put it back on top and draw for nothing, and keep doing that as many times as you want. So you can combo off with this deck, and that is the basis for the deck that I play in CEDH, which tells you how good this combo is. So we have 2 ways to reduce the cost in creatures, and also you can count Glaring Fleshraker because when you cast Sensei's Divining Top, it'll make an Eldrazi spawn, which you then sacrifice to pay for the top, and also then just win the game because it deals 1 damage to everybody.
Okay.
We have a couple other things here because I know in BigDaddyMagic's primer, he said that he also wanted ways to win the game that weren't just go infinite. So, hey, like stuff like Kappa Cannoneer really likes lots of artifacts entering, so you can just beat people down with an unblockable and essentially untouchable ward fort. Nobody's paying that. You can make a nice little army of Thopters that, and what was the other one that I saw? It might not have been a creature, but yeah. Also some, let's see, the Kozilek is here so you don't run out of cards, because if you can draw as many as you want, sometimes you get carried away. I know that can happen.
You would never get carried away, Veggie. Only 3 sorceries, and 2 of them are tutors, because the deck, it is a secret commander Sensei's Divining Top. The card is fun for the person playing Sensei's Divining Top. So this is a secret commander Sensei's Divining Top?
I mean, essentially, yes.
Okay.
That is your number 1 priority, is to find your top.
We actually have a secret commander game coming out on Monday.
Oh yeah, that's what that is. I look at that. I planned it that way.
Yeah, totally planned it. So we all have commanders, but like the whole premise of our decks is to not get out the commander. It's to get out a different specific card. That'll be Monday's episode. Fun.
Mm-hmm.
This deck would have slotted in nicely for that.
Yeah, I think this deck would have beaten us up pretty badly. Because it's a powerful combo, and we see that it's also, like, rightfully so, being backed up by some of the more powerful counter magic. You have, I think, your full suite of no mana counters. Let's see, anything funky? Oh yes, Retraction Helix is your funky include here, because I think you have some things that will untap themselves when you cast, or what am I looking for? We're looking for things that untap, because there we go. With Mirror and Spy, whenever you cast an artifact, you'll untap a creature. So if you target that creature with Retraction Helix, then every single time you play an artifact, you can bounce something. So it's Cyclonic Rift at home.
I will say, if this deck was submitted as a patron sponsor list for us to play on the show, I would not be playing this. My head hurts already. Well, it's less that my head hurts, it's more that my eyes have glazed over.
Yeah, this is like the opposite of the kind of Magic that you enjoy. But look, it does end the game. It has a way to actually end the game. You just play a million spells and then you Aetherflux Reservoir everyone. Let's see. Yeah, this is pretty clear. There was a little more focus on like 0 cost artifacts, so that even if you're not doing the infinite top, that you have a lot of stuff that's triggering all of the other things that we saw in the creatures. It does happen to just coincidentally make a bunch of little guys. So cards like Coastal Piracy still end up drawing you almost as many cards as the top. And I love this card, Artificer's Intuition. I always end up cutting it from my decks because it's not this one, but this is really powerful. I never see anybody playing it, just being able to discard any artifact to search for anything that costs 1, like a Sensei's Divining Top.
Secret Commander.
Mm-hmm.
Secret Commander.
Okay, so that's the general list. This like, there's no way that this lives anywhere below like high power, just because it's a combo centered deck. I would say if you're focused more on trying to do the top combo, the CEDH deck that I run uses Helm of Awakening, which I think is the most efficient way to reduce the cost of your top. It's just an artifact for 2 mana, but reduces all spells by 1 mana, including your opponent's. Which to me is very fun because I like cards that like high risk, high reward.
Someone in chat would like to know, does Aetherflux Reservoir trigger off of storm copies or just the original spell?
Just the original spell, because I believe it is how many spells you have cast. Let's see. Yes, whenever you cast a spell, you gain 1 life for each spell you've cast this turn, and when a storm trigger goes off, it simply puts copies onto the stack and does not cast them. So okay. You don't cast your storm copies for Aetherflux, just the actual cardboards.
Got it. I'm keeping up with chat and sort of navigating.
Thank you. That is the thing I can't focus on.
But you can keep rambling about all the cards.
Oh, there's a brand new card. There's a brand new card that totally should be in here. It is Fortune Teller's Talent from Bloomborough.
You should be able to wait, stop.
Nope.
Because this is our list, you should just be able to add it to your deck, right?
That's what I was doing.
Oh, never mind. I thought you were in the search bar of the website. The full thing tricked me.
All right, check this thing out. Fortune Teller's Talent. So 1, you can look at the top card of your library at any time. Not terribly important because, I mean, yeah, sure. But the rest of the thing just does what Reality Chip does. So if they've killed your commander a bunch of times, here's an alternative, because you can, level 2, as long as you cast a spell this turn, you can play spells from the top of your library. Great, that's Reality Chip. And level 3 reduces the cost of them if you're not casting from your hand. So that just then goes infinite with the top without Reality Chip at all. So it's a really nice backup.
So if we play this on the show, would you die in editing?
No, I would take the deck for myself and then throw. I'd be, and then in my interview at the end, I'd be like, hey, so I played as best as I could, and man, I just couldn't get there. But here are the things that you could do, and then we would have like another half-hour segment of just me explaining the things you can do with the deck. I think my last thoughts on this, like for sure, Fortune Teller's Talent, I think is an auto include and just very, very new card that I think got glossed over by a lot of people. This seems like a Displacer Kitten deck. You're casting so many non-creature spells, you can, and that like goes infinite with a million things.
It's hard to today say no to a Displacer Kitten. It's so cute.
That's like probably like one of the like the 3 cards in the Venn diagram of me and you, where I'm like, oh, look at all the things that it can do, and you're like, also kitten.
Also, like, I would probably use it in a boring, sad way.
A value displacer kitten? Yeah. All right, so I will blink this one thing that draws me a card.
And I would be very happy about it.
On occasion. I will hold up my interaction and protect this kitten and get one card draw per rotation, but no one will touch it.
Yeah, no touchy. All right.
Yes, the other real quick things. In the primer, Big Daddy Magic was asking about flash enablers. I think those are really good for this, but it makes it super sweaty. You will have to think 3 times as hard because every single time anybody does anything, you're like, okay, does this mean I now try to win at instant speed on the stack? So I think it's really just how hard you want to, how much smoke do you want coming out of your ears? For those, they just simply do make the deck stronger, but that's the question that you want to ask yourself. This land count seems too high.
What?
This is 37 lands in a deck that is running a million 0 cost spells. Your instants, none of these you're casting for more than 1 mana. Every single instant in this is either 1 mana or a free mana spell. I think you can cut some lands for some other cool stuff here.
I don't understand.
You can clip that because I'll never say it again about anybody's deck because all the rest of you are running way too few lands. And finally, there was also a note in the primer about this is a lot of wastes, and I think it is a waste. I would replace a bunch of these just with utility. Put Urzatron in there because maybe you get lucky and you are running the Urza's Cave to try and find them. Put like Darksteel Citadel and See the Synod, things like that. But yes, I would just find utility, replace those, cut a couple of them. You could probably run down to like 34 lands at least. And those are all of my thoughts. I think this is very fun. I would play this all the time, but only against people that like this kind of magic.
No, not me. I do think it's got some really cute cards. I like some of the interactions. I do think I agree. This is too much for my tiny brain. So this would be allocated to Veggie if this were played on the show. What is Invisible Stalker doing for us? That's a card I know and like, and I just don't know what it is for here.
It is for that first word in the box, and that's it. It likes to hold a reality chip and not let anybody touch it.
Okay.
It's
no touchy reality chip.
No touchy reality chip. Hexproof creature, hard to deal with. Okay,
fair enough. Let me see if there were any other cards that stuck out to me where I'm just like, I know this card and I don't know why it's here. For the most part, it all makes sense to me. Like the Thought Monitor, like those are all things I see in these types of decks typically. All the suite of free cards. I was just doing one more pass for the Nerd Girl questions, but I don't think I have any. It's pretty straightforward. Yeah, this deck is from BigDaddyMagic. Thank you so much for submitting it. Big Daddy also always posts in the Patron Deck Tech channel, so if any of you guys want to talk to BigDaddyMagic about this deck list, you can head on in there. Also, there'll be links down below in the description of the video to all of the deck lists you see featured today. BigDaddyMagic, thank you so much for submitting our first deck list for today's Deck Tech. Before we move on to the next one, which is going to be TarBeast, we want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor. They sponsor all of our content. That is TOA Magic. Woo! The best place for you guys to buy all of your sealed product and singles, and no better time to do that than when looking at new deck lists you might want to buy when you get 5% off using code DECKEDOUT.
Yeah!
We did just put in a big order ourselves too. We work with TOA all the time. Also would love to shout out our sponsor Moxfield as well. Obviously everything we do is on Moxfield. We were sponsored. Ooh. We were using them long before we were sponsored by them. And it's just a great site where we can do all of our deck lists, share our decks. I mean, there's a ton of resources here that even I don't know how to use.
I am constantly brewing, and I just simply could not do that without Moxfield.
Yes, absolutely. Easy to transfer and make changes. Big fans. So thank you to TOA and Moxfield. Make sure you guys use the links down below in the descriptions to support the show. And let's move on to TarBeast's deck. We're going to be looking at a Bristly Bill Spine Sower list.
We're going to be looking at a Jody Moag Ancient list.
Oh, I lied. It was. I don't know why it was there.
Yeah, it's in the list somewhere, and I guess just we moused over it for a moment.
The other quick thing is the title's called Nature's Revenge, which I thought was flavorful. I like that. So Nerd Girl point. Ding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the reason why is because the goal of this deck is to animate all of your lands, because I think this is a very fun approach to this commander, because everybody focuses on the first part of it, which is when Jody enters, you make a 1/1 Dryad Arbor. So you make a 1/1 forest creature for each time you cast your commander from the Kanzan. So it's like, oh, okay, you're trying to do landfall with that and do weird things with that. But TarBeast is focused on the second part. At your combat, your land creatures get +X/+X, where X is Jody's power.
Farst.
Yeah. Yeah.
You get a Farst.
Farst. Like run, Farst, run.
It's not a commander I've seen before, and it's got a good cheap price point as well, so could be fun to build.
Yes.
And I see you have good taste because it's full of me, Nissa.
Yeah, like this one. Yeah, Jody was the backup commander for the Omo deck, which also is a reason why it got overshadowed so much, because that was a very popular commander. Everybody focused on that one, and that's why we haven't seen this one. Yeah, lots of U's, because you tend to turn your lands into creatures,
into things that will punch you in the face.
Yeah.
We did, side note, just record with Dana Fisher, who's also known as a Nissa cosplayer, and we did an Oops All Elves pod. So that's going to be fun. You're going to see much Nissas on the table. Two of us, me and Dana, both had like Nissa themed decks. It was very fun.
It was a good time. All right. So yeah, many Nissas, all turning your lands into creatures or untapping your lands, whether that is combat related or not. And then the two Ren and blanks, because also animates lands. If you ever alt this thing, then you get to do more land stuff and play lands, make big creature, equal lands.
How do you feel about decks with this many planeswalkers? Because I know you're not typically a fan, but when that's kind of the premise of the deck, the last time we saw this was, I believe, trying to think of whose deck it was. It might have been Red's. It was submitted for the show to be played. It was the Thalia and the Gitrog monster, with the premise being making tokens using planeswalkers. That deck was really, really cool, and that's like the only other time we've seen this many planeswalkers before.
Yeah. I don't have anything about against playing planeswalkers, but my experience with them is pretty universally. People go, "Ugh, scary! It's a planeswalker. Kill immediately," regardless of how good the planeswalker is. So they're always disappointing to me, because I feel like unless you are building a deck around them, that they just get hated out and you don't get to do the fun stuff with them. So we'll have to see because this is a lot of planeswalkers, so I assume there will be some other things that work well with them. If your deck is built to protect them, then they can be really nice.
Okay.
So,
oops, I stole the mouse from Veggie. Sorry, give me 2 seconds.
We can see some creatures here.
All right, you may have it back.
Why is your sensitivity so low?
I don't know. I didn't use it last. I never use this mouse. Try that. That's the oops mouse in case this dies on stream. Or if I'm playing League of Legends and I need something a little less space mousy.
This thing is like, I don't know. I was gonna say like sweaty like sniper player.
It is. It has like weights you can take in and out to like change change it so you like the weight is different based on what you're playing, and all of the buttons for like hotkeys and stuff. It is a very sweaty mouse.
I also like that, yeah, because I can like go 1, 2, 3 times and it's not on across the screen yet.
I play a decent amount of League, or at least I used to.
Okay. We're doing land stuff. We want to animate lands. We want to get lots of lands. So this is less landfall, but sometimes naturally you're going to have cards that are just too good.
Scoot. We were playing a game the other day, and I played a Scoot Swarm, and for some reason, the only thing that popped into my head was scoot, motherfucker, and I couldn't get it out of my head, and I just kept saying it over and over again.
I discovered maybe the reason that happened.
Where did I get it from?
I think you got it from Joe, because in the episode that I'm working on right now, they said it like just offhand, and you can kind of see it like sinking in, it like to pop up later. You're like, oh, okay, and then we can just continue playing the game. So maybe that's where.
So I just played the Scoot Swarm, said it, and I was like, I can't think of anything else to say, and I don't know why. It was very out of character. So all right, Joe added it to my brain permanently, I suppose.
All right. Creatures. This is pretty standard. Oh, yeah. This is one of those cards that I wish I could have as commander, because it's a weird ability. Turning all of your lands, including the ones in your library, into basic lands.
Oh, yeah.
So all of your, like, cultivates and stuff can pull whatever land that you want. I never end up in the kind of deck that can use this, but let's see.
Is there a world where we play a game where they're all the commanders are non-legendary? Is the theme?
I could see that. That'd
be fun.
Let's see.
While Veggie is thinking, hi to greetings from Germany, and so that's Light and Windful. Welcome, guys.
Okay. Yeah, see, like we were just saying, Kodama's Reach, Cultivate, together with Root Path Purifier means you can search for whatever land that you'd like.
And value with Tatyova.
Oh, yes.
My favorite draft uncommon from the set. You mean that's original Dominaria, right? Uh-huh.
Yeah, that was a good time. And Tatyova triggers when you cast Jodah, because you make the 1/1 forest. I had a thought in my head, and I don't remember what it was. Oh, yeah, Nostalgic Dreams. Nostalgic card. Because the Dreams cycle from Torment, which was exactly 1 million years ago.
2019? Or 1999?
Okay, there's yeah.
Jesus. Oh God, I'm old. I'm so old. I think Torment came out right before I started playing.
Same.
And I started in 2000.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Because I started like Judgment-ish. So it was like...
Yeah, that was literally the set before Judgment.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are some cool cards. I hope they get like reprinted sometime soon. But the theme is they always are a cheap mana cost, but you have to also discard a bunch of cards from your hand to do X thing. And this is just dumping your hand to return a bunch of cards from your graveyard. I think the idea here is dumping a bunch of lands in your hand to do a thing with cards we haven't seen yet, like playing them out of your graveyard, but I'm not sure exactly. I don't spot the big combo, which means there's probably a subtler one.
Okay.
So this one, TarBeast pointed out to me specifically, the effects that animate your lands are almost always sorcery speed.
Mhm.
This is one of the few ones that is instant speed.
Drink service. Thank you, Airball.
Be caffeinated.
Oh,
Airball's like, I don't have to record the deck tech. I'll go get coffee. Excellent.
thank you.
Teamwork.
Yes. You all hear how slowly I've been speaking this whole time. You get ready for it to be for there to be so much more happening. Natural Affinity is instant speed. 1, so weird. 2, makes all lands into creatures. So, if you're very mean, you can wait for somebody to board wipe and cast this in response to also Armageddon everyone, which is so terrible, especially since you are running things like Crucible of Worlds and Conduit of Worlds to quickly rebuild yourself while everybody is just out of mana.
That's awful.
I personally like using this as a deterrent, to be like, hello, yes, that farewell that you're about to cast, I would like to show you this this Natural Affinity. Please do not cast that if you'd like to continue playing spells. But yes, that's a very weird niche include that is super good here. Okay. Another one of the few cards that can make land creature tokens, Staff of Titania. Those are very important because we want as many land creatures as possible.
Yeah. That card puts in a lot of work.
Yes. Because it's like both things that you want. It is, here is ramp, here's landfall, both. All three of both. Yeah. Ramp, landfall, and makes a creature real big. Okay. We have extra land drops. We have get your lands back. Personally, I am very off of Mending of Dominaria, but maybe that is just the commander that I'm used to playing, because this is it feels like it takes so long to do a thing that I want, which is Chapter 3, Return All My Lands. And I don't care about the first 2 parts. I don't want to spend 5 mana for this.
So wouldn't playing like Lumra be a better option?
I think it's a much better option.
I did it.
I would absolutely swap this for Lumra, because it also gives you like just another huge body to start beating people with. And maybe Aftermath Analyst as well, as a like, you can commit a little bit of mana to it early and then be able to do it exactly when you want later. Okay. And lands. These are a little bit more relevant than usual in decks because any of the ones that can turn themselves into creatures are also helpful, which is less than I expected. What else would I be running here that turns into a creature that is good? I'm struggling to think of them, but I will mention this.
Well, you have Lair of the Hydra, so you have the blue version, which is the
Hall of the Storm Giants.
Yep.
Yes. That's fine.
I'm helpful.
This is 39 lands, and we're again, weird day. I think this is fine. I think this is a good amount of lands for the deck that wants to play a lot of lands, can play a lot of lands. Okay. One thing that I'm missing here, I think, would be haste. Since we're making a bunch of creature lands, because they are creatures, it means they're affected by summoning sickness. So your 1/1 green forest dryads from Jodah have summoning sickness, can't use them for mana. Most of these effects that are animating lands, like Nissa, give them haste, but none of the other things do. So like your Staff of Titania doesn't give haste.
What would be the card that you are thinking of?
The easy one would be Lightning Greaves. And the one that I like would be Concordant Crossroads, which is a 1 mana. Wow, can't type today. Maybe that's enough. Concordant Crossroads. It's a little pricey, but it makes for really fun games. Where are you? There we go. It's just all creatures have haste. All of them. Opponents, haste. Yours, haste. For 1 mana. Makes games very interesting and go a lot quicker. But it means that your creature lands will have haste.
I like that. All your dryads being able to tap for mana seems pretty relevant.
Yes. I don't know how combo you want to get with this deck. It's pretty nerd girly right now, where you just want to put your stuff on the board and hit people with them and get there. But this seems like the ideal Springheart and To-Go deck. Where are you? Where did you get put into? Springheart and To-Go from Modern Horizons 3. So it's like weird Scoot Swarm. You bestow it on a creature, and then whenever a land enters, you can pay 2 mana to make a copy of the creature.
I played against that once in Limited. It sucked for me.
Yup. Yup.
It was real bad.
Yeah.
Okay, that does seem like a good include. I like that. If you're going to have Scoot Swarm, you might as well do that. It gives you another win condition as well. And there's lots of powerful cards here that would like to be copied.
Yes. And I'm going to try not to do a full TikTok video for you right now, but here's the weird interaction. Animate your land, bestow Springheart and Tuco on it, have another land enter the battlefield, triggering Springheart and Tuco. When you copy the land that is animated, it does not copy the fact that it is a creature. So you simply get token land, which triggers Springheart and Tuco. So you're already making 1 mana with the land token. So as long as so for every 1 mana that you spend, make a land token. As many times as you want. I think I have that correct.
Okay.
Yes. The important thing is when you copy a land that's been animated, it does not copy the fact that it is a creature. So big time landfall, lots, many lands.
Many things.
Yes.
Real quick, the Vorinclex is in here, I'm guessing because of a lot of planeswalkers, and a good chunk of those planeswalkers put counters onto the lands.
Mm-hmm.
So we're doubling all of those things.
Yeah, I think that is exactly right.
Okay.
And you just incidentally have you have
Caretaker
Bill.
also makes
Yes.
counters. Yep.
Yeah.
So now that we've moved on from the blue cards, I know what's happening.
Okay. Was there anything else? Oh, okay. So I don't know. It's gonna be a little harder to see in this view, but when I look at the decks, they're a little more condensed. But if we sort this by mana value, there's very little that you can do on turns 1 and 2. We have 4 spells here, but I don't really want to be playing like we put this in the deck. This does not belong here.
So 3.
3. Okay, we have 3 creatures. We have no sorceries because we're not playing this on 2. We could tutor, I guess. So let's say, well, we had 4, 5, 6. Soul Ring, sure. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, but that's not a great turn 2 play. Concordant Crossroads we put in. 3 more here. So unless you're very lucky with your opening hand or have some very casual mulligan rules, I think you fall behind a lot of decks and then have to catch up. I think it does a decent job at catching up because you're ramping so fast, but I would want more things that I can do early in the game. There are some creatures that can allow you to put lands into play, like Arboreal Grazer, or I think maybe better is just put these in a deck. There are 2 1-mana creatures that are just tap, put a land from your hand on the battlefield. That seems like it would be fine to me. This is not even running 3 visits, Nature's Lore. Seems good. I don't know. That's I think the one thing that stuck out to me as far as build.
Side note, this is one of those situations where I give you a draft uncommon or something, and then you make fun of me.
Yes.
But there's a 2-drop that lets you flip the top card of your library. If it's a land, it goes onto the battlefield. It was not that long ago.
Snakey, the little snake guy?
I think so.
Coiling Oracle. I love Coiling Oracle.
No. That's Coiling Oracle. That's different.
Oh.
That's a good one too. But this is just mono green. It's like a 1/3. That I think
you reveal the top.
Maybe it goes into your hand instead.
Is it like an ETB or is it a?
No, it's a tap ability. It sounds like the type of thing, if you're looking for early drops that help you manipulate your lands and get extra cards out and get more lands in your hand.
Yes, that is exactly the kind of thing that I would want here.
It's not Shigeki, no. It was a common or an uncommon in like the last year or 2.
Okay.
But if you don't know it, then I am not being helpful.
Yes, exactly the card that you're thinking of that we all know. That would be the kind of thing I'd want here.
I'm trying to find it, but yes, Coiling Oracle is also a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I do know that card. That would be good.
Yeah, that's the big thing I would adjust here. Is just I want to be playing things on turns 1 and 2 for sure. And even in a deck that ramps this much, I'd still want to have the turns, some ramp here and there. Because there's a big difference between playing Jodah on turn 3 or turn 4, especially since it also ramps you.
I'm opening Arena. I'm gonna look. I'm gonna look.
Can you look at like Untapped? Like what were my past 3 draft decks?
Quick question. Is there something cute that we are doing with the Wilderness Reclamation other than the fact that you just attack with your creature lands and then still can tap them for mana? But a lot of times Wilderness Reclamation is doing like busted things on your opponent's turn. Is that the case here?
I did not catch any of those. Let's look at instants because that's where our answer would be. I don't think so. We don't have... I didn't notice any big mana sinks. Like, sure, you can Psych Rift, but I think it is just simply, hey... full send, cool, and now everything's back up. Which is actually that's good to point that out because they're not then creatures, so they're not protecting you. I think there's only a few effects that actually keep them as creatures until your next turn.
Yanks is usually pretty right about things. Dryad Greenseeker. Can you type that one in? Maybe I don't have to find it on Arena.
Dryad Greenseeker, 35 cents. That sounds right. This?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. That would work. That is the kind of thing that we're looking for.
And you just get to do it over and over again.
Right.
So you're just basically getting like, what? This deck had almost 40 lands, so you're, 40% to draw a card every turn.
Right.
And yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I like that.
It's cheap.
Okay. I think those are my thoughts. Oh, just to finish your point here on Wilderness Reclamation. We don't have any effects that are keeping these lands creatures through our opponent's turns. I don't think. Yeah. So and we don't really have big mana sinks for that either. Right? I'm not missing something. Bristly Bill is like 1 mana sink. But I don't think you're consistently having something to dump that mana into. And we don't have a ton of like interaction. So that I think would be a reasonable cut or like figure out something else to do there. Right? One was...
Or you just cut some lands. have you know, Veggie, that you build a good portion of the decks that I play on the show, and I never have enough lands.
But it's only you.
So maybe you're not putting in enough lands.
Just in your decks. Okay, yeah, that's a good last minute point out. Not the land, not that I put too many or not enough lands in decks. But.
All right, so final thoughts on the deck, Veggie. We're not really doing the Veggie scale. You've given some suggestions, but do you have like what kind of power level would you be playing this at? Like a more casual, or is it more competitive?
This is definitely a more casual build, because you are focusing on like the weaker portion of your commander, which I fully support. That's very fun. I've never seen anybody take this approach with Jodah, and that is the kind of deck that I like to see, the kind of deck that I like to play. Every other Jodah deck is just I'm gonna spam the board with as many of these land tokens as possible, and then not do anything else, because that's how Simic works. And this is just like, hey, we're gonna make an army of big scary lands all the time.
Comment also mentioning Lotus Cobra, good 2-drop here for the deck.
Yes.
I didn't even occur to me that it wasn't in the deck, honestly.
Yes, that would definitely be good.
So special shout out again to TarBeast for submitting the Jodah deck. Really do appreciate your support. Quick note for those of you guys who are just coming into the live streams. Sorry, YouTube, you're going to get a lot of announcements. This is our patron deck tech. We do them monthly. So if you guys are signed up at the appropriate tier for our Patreon, then you can submit a deck list every single month for us to take a look at, show here on the channel, and share it with all of you. There's also a tier for you guys to have us play them on the show as well. Oftentimes people who do the sponsored tier, where they will have us play a deck, they'll also have us do the deck tech for the same deck. So it's really fun. Again, shout outs to the sponsors of today's segment, which is TOA and Moxfield. And we're going to go ahead and move on to the next deck list. And that is going to be submitted by Cheezus. Make sure I get the... Oh.
I think the commander did not quite make it over.
Oh, no.
This is a master formed anew deck. It probably just ended up in creatures. Yeah.
My bad.
Ta-da.
Okay. So, insert clever name here by Cheezus.
Yeah. This deck was inspired by a huge, like, big-time famous content creator that puts out daily like TikTok videos about different cards, and Cheezus thought that this particular one video was really cool, and so they built this deck around it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I did a video on the Master Formed Anew, and specifically, Cheezus like saw the video and I thought it was interesting, so actually flesh out the entire deck based on it. Yeah, the reason that I made the video is because I think this is a very, very good, strong commander that nobody is playing. It's actually one of the least played commanders on, like, by the numbers on EDHREC. So, for 2 mana, you cast it, you exile a creature you control, and it gets a counter on it. And then anytime that the master enters the battlefield, you can have it as a copy of one of the creatures that has a takeover counter on it. So it means the first time that you do it, you'll have the one target because it's a cast trigger, but then you're like building this library of creatures that it can enter the battlefield as, which is very interesting. And we'll use the things in here to tell you what cool things this commander can do. For instance, if you steal somebody's creature and then you exile it with the master, then that is a thing that you can then have it come into play as forever, and your opponent does not get the creature back. So even like temporary steals become very, very permanent.
So it's just a way to put Agent of Treachery into the command zone, and it's flexible. You can do it over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
So you can copy other non-legendary cards. That's cool.
Right. Yeah, it's make your own commander, but make your own non-legendary commander.
And I like that you're targeting creatures that are not like haymakers on their own. The goal is not like, we're going to play a Vorinclex, we're going to exile that Vorinclex and then have a Vorinclex every turn.
Mm-hmm.
The goal is Baleful Strix, I got good value, and then I can have a Baleful Strix when I need one, or a Hostage Taker, or
Exactly.
And it just does the thing over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
Like Chupacabra, like that's really cool.
Right. So yeah, you like build, you upgrade. You're like jumping from body to body on like, okay, we got a Baleful Strix. Yeah, now we're upgrading. Yeah.
But you can always go back.
And you can always go back.
Yep.
And that's why cards like Thassa Deep Dwelling are so important, because you can blink the master, and while you don't get the cast trigger, you can switch bodies.
Keep going, I'm shut at the door.
So yeah, you blink it and you have it come back as the thing that you need at the time, whether that is just drawing a card from Baleful Strix or stealing somebody's thing with a Hostage Taker.
Hammy's being loud, sorry.
Let's see. I'm like trying to figure what.
Kitten.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about him earlier.
Very good. Do blink.
He's so cute.
All right. Chat. Can you tell me why this card is in the deck? Because this is probably the most important creature in the deck. Is it just when Driver the Dead dies, you return a creature with converted mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield? This was, I think, the first thing I talked about in that video. But... Oh, do you want to see what targets that you would have?
Yeah, I was trying to...
Sort.
Ah, I don't know why I didn't see that one. Okay, so I think the idea... is exile, so it wouldn't trigger it. So you play it, you copy it with your commander. Each time your commander dies, you get something back. It does say creature. Something tricky.
Yeah. Ooh, I see some of you in the chats have figured out the secret.
You need a sack outlet.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the commander himself is 2 mana.
Exactly.
So if the commander copies this, every time the commander dies, he gets to just come back into play?
Yeah.
Ah. You don't need a sack outlet. It's just a failsafe to never let your commander die.
Yeah. And if you have a sack outlet, then that is infinite. Yeah.
I think it's cute until you get the sack outlet, and then I think that's too much.
Yeah.
So then... But he has to be a copy of this. So you're not getting that much value. Right? Because he's in play as a copy of this.
Yes. Essentially you were doing this only when it gets you some value, like bringing your Strix back, or if you are ready to do some sort of funky combo.
Yeah. But it's not like you could, he doesn't have this ability and is continuing to ETB as, like, Agent of Treachery.
Right.
Like, it's nothing too messed up.
Yeah.
It would be cool if it was, well, it would be way too busted. But if each time you exiled it, he, like, gained abilities. So it was doing multiple things, that would be busted. But
well, they have some commanders like that. They just cost significantly more.
Yeah, infinite Blood Artist triggers.
Okay. So yes, we have a toolbox of creatures. You're jumping from body to body, getting upgrading your library of things that you can have it enter as. Yeah.
So it's funny that TarBeast built this deck based on, like, interactions with you.
Cheezus, but yes.
Oh, Cheezus. Okay, never mind. TarBeast was the last patron, sorry.
The other thing is, all you have to do is get a creature into play for a moment. So if you reanimate something big and then exile it, great. You've spent 1 mana plus the 2 for your commander. So, you can pitch your Agent of Treachery and then have it as your commander very quickly. Any bounce here is very useful. So We have ways to get the master back into hand. Essence Flux lets you blink it. There's a new 1-mana blink in Bloomborough, Splash Portal, which might be playable here. The only problem is it is a sorcery, so not quite as good. Yeah, we have some interaction and stuff. Great. Cyber Conversion, which all of you blue players should be playing. Not only is it like flavorful here because we're in the Doctor Who theme, but this turns off of a commander. And then they have to find some way to turn it back on.
Oh, it's like the tree.
Mm-hmm.
That card's mean. I don't like doing that to people.
The tree one is worse. If it's Song of the Dryads, that's worse because then they have to figure out how to get rid of a land. This one you can at least like make a deal with somebody and be like, please
block
this. Or like a board wipe or something.
Or yeah, you could just also single target removal your own thing.
Right.
Yeah, it's not so bad, but you're right. Yeah, the song is worse. And I play that in a lot of my decks because I'm just like, it's too good not to.
Right.
And then like, I actively just don't put it on someone's commander.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you're in mono green, like you have to take what you can get, especially.
Yeah.
Because your removal is already pretty bad. So
I find myself only casting on commanders when I can like end the game, like within an orbit or two.
Mm-hmm. Or on people that you don't like. That's also a good choice. Yes, I don't think there's anything too spicy here. Or well, it's just solid. I like adding Familiar's Roost here. This is not a good card, but it feels like it's right here because you're bouncing the master. Like this is the kind of card I would run. Okay, look. Hey, sack outlet that wins you the game if you've done the Driver of the Dead thing. But that's the only one. Surprisingly, no Phyrexian Altar, no Ashnod's Altar. So we're not focused entirely on comboing off. We just want to do a cool thing. Vedalken Shackles, this was also in my video because you steal somebody's creature, you eat it with the master, and then you just untap your Vedalken Shackles because you don't need it to keep control of them anymore.
All right. Someone in chat is currently asking, would Vohair Vondel something? I can't read it because the stupid heart's in the way.
Yes.
But would that card be good here?
Vohar is 2 mana. You discard. It loots, right? And then if the thing that you discarded was an instant or sorcery, you like drain. But then you can pay 2 and cast something from your graveyard. That's kind of cute because you can, if you eat it, then you can sacrifice, goes back to your command zone. I could see that being not bad here. Plus it's another way to set up your Animate Dead and reanimate to be able to get those very expensive creatures onto the board cheaply.
Nice.
More blink. Oh, yeah. Okay, so this is the other cute one. If you manifest or a morph or something like that, if you exile that with the master, it's face up in exile. So it comes in as the front side.
Okay.
So Scroll of Fate, throw down your Agent of Treachery as a 2/2 and then eat it.
And then do the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you have the card that flips things that you were talking about?
Flips it face down though, so that's not as helpful. But you could do that to your own thing.
It doesn't exile it and return it, which is unfortunate.
Yeah,
I was gonna say because you could do that to protect your creature and then eat it or something.
Yeah, I like that thought. Okay, and then I think this is just good stuff. As pointed out to me, I think last time we did one of these, this card lets you draw 4 on your turn every upkeep. Because you give everybody 1 draw, and then you draw 3 plus your 1 for turn. So I might have to start running this more often because that seems great.
Group hug.
Oh, all right. Also, this is just my PSA for everybody for all deck text, so I don't have to say it for any of them. Replace lands with the new Mon Horizons 3
Flippies.
flippy lands. They're just all so good. Like they all have relevant effects that you're going to want at some point, and if you have to play them as a land, even untapped for paying 3 life, the amount of times it will be relevant are very few. So, as a blanket statement for every single deck that we see today, replace some of your lands with the flippies.
And if you decide not to, please send them to us, because Veggie builds we build 30 decks in a weekend, and Veggie puts them in every one, and they're all worth $4 or $5 because they're good. And I'm sick of buying them. So, there's a P.O. box down below in the description. Feel free to send us your flippy lands if you don't take the advice.
Yeah.
Because Veggie, we don't have 12 of them.
I've been trying to grab as many as possible every time that I see them, trading people for them.
I think you have 3, and I have 1 of each, and then that's it.
Yeah.
But we build 30 decks, and we need 7 of the green one or whatever.
Yeah. The blue-black one is search for an instant or a card with flash.
And it's a land. It's
and
free.
It's a land. That's, yeah. Ugh. I will be right back. But I don't know. There's another secret driver of the dead in the deck. Look at Cavalier of Night.
Cavalier of Night. Yep, I remember that card. That card was in standard for a minute. You may sacrifice another creature. Whenever you do, destroy a target creature an opponent controls. When it dies, return a card from your graveyard. Mana value cost 3 or less from the graveyard to the battlefield. Nice. So you could put your commander in the graveyard and get it back with Cavalier of Night? Is the goal?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just works the same way. Plus a little bonus, right? You can, yeah.
Everything here seems pretty normal. All little mini win conditions in their own, which is cool. So, Hostage Taker is an all-star, Gray Merchant even, Cavalier, Agent, Massacre Worm, Garuda, just every single card in here, just haymakers.
Yes.
And you're just doing them over and over again.
Right.
So.
And it's so hard to interact with, because as soon as you exile one of these things, there's not a thing anybody can do about you being able to now play that from the command zone.
Song of the Dryad.
I guess.
Real quickly, I want to do a quick shout out. Since we started the stream, we've had 2 new patrons sign up today.
Hey.
So special shout out to Alex and Griffey.
Yeah.
Okay. Alex and Griffey, thank you so much. Really do appreciate you guys joining the Patreon. Make sure you guys link your Patreon to your Discord in Patreon settings, because that'll give you access to all of the cool Patreon channels, including where you submit decks and answer polls and do all that kind of good stuff.
I should do that.
We need to do some polls soon, because I haven't done any in a little while. We have a big recording session coming up next week, next month. We just had one. Okay, I think that is it for Cheezus. Any final thoughts?
Final thoughts. We saw 32 lands. That's not enough. You have a commander that's cheap, but you have lots of other things that you want to play, and sometimes you're not able to cheat them in. So I want to be able to Massacre Worm reliably. We have, I think, very little
rocks.
I don't count Soul Ring because everybody runs it. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. I would.
You still have to count it.
It doesn't count. It's not a. Yeah, it doesn't make mana.
You make no sense.
Yeah, I think there should be more lands in this. Significantly, Dimir does not do mana very well. I would bump this up to 4 lands. That's that, and maybe a little bit more reanimate.
There's an expensive top end here.
There is an expensive top end here, yes. Plus, you want mana to be able to use Deadeye Navigator and
you want to play your commander over and over again. So the extra lands is really helpful.
Yes.
So I would agree. 4 lands and even a rock or 2 more.
Yes. Satoru, the other Satoru is the only other thing that I think for sure we'd be missing here. The ninja one. Right Yes. This seems like another way to cheaply
Ooh.
get stuff into play. Also, like, recycle your Baleful Strix. Yeah.
Would this also be a good deck for, like, Victimize? You victimize your Baleful Strix and bring back Massacre Worm and Agent of Treachery?
Yes. Yes, you could. I think that's another way that you could build this, focusing more on being able to get these into the graveyard. The slight nombo is that if you've used the master on them, it does exile.
Yeah, I just figure, like, you won't exile all of them, right? Like, you just have this high... Like, I imagine there's going to be some number of times where you, like, cast this thing and then it dies.
Yeah.
Like...
I think totally that is a good way to build this as well, is, like, focusing more on a reanimator strategy, on having things that you can put into the graveyard.
Like, I imagine there's a fair number of times you Massacre Worm and then, like, someone, like, board clears you or something.
Right.
So... I feel like that would be a good value, like essentially card draw for some really big cards like this. It just feels like a waste to spend this much mana, and then if it gets destroyed, because your opponents are going to do everything they can to not let you copy Agent, right? Like, they're going to kill it in response to the cast or whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm very down for that.
Okay, so Veggie approved? Would this be a thing you want to play?
Yeah. I think literally, if anybody comes and it's like, well, I built this deck because you talked about it, I'll be like, all right, I'll play that deck.
All right, Cheezus, thank you so much for being a patron and submitting a deck for today's deck tech. We really appreciate you, my friend. Next up, we've got a list from Kai. This is actually a commander we've had in the past, but a new take on it. So, Norin the Wary.
Yes. And this is a chaos version. This is a chaos build of Norin the Wary. Not that he wasn't chaos already, but this really leans into that theme. By the way, there's a new Norin in the upcoming in Duskmourn. It's the second time we've ever seen this character. Equally as weird and silly.
It was spoiled, right?
Oops. Yes, it was.
I don't know. I haven't looked at the spoilers. I just know that you did content and you have access, so
yes,
throwing that out there. Making sure I didn't need to delete the VOD.
Yes, he is spoiled. He is spoiled. But yes, the original Norin. Whenever a player does anything, plays a spell or a creature attacks, you flicker Norin. So exile, return at end of turn. So
that's why you see cards like Perforos in the deck.
Yeah. Because guaranteed every player is going to play a spell or attack on their turn, so you at least get 2 damage on each player's turn. But I'm already surprised to see so few creatures, considering there are other creatures that do this thing.
Mm-hmm.
You have, like, Witty Roastmaster and the new lizard that does it. Agate Instigator. But maybe there is a reason that the creature count is so low. We are running a lot of ways to mess with everybody else's creatures, whether we're blowing them up or making them fight each other, or stealing them straight up. So maybe we're just fine with not having creatures. This also is a board wipe, right? Kind of. I will say, I've already looked at this deck list. We're going to see a lot of cards that I don't think... there were a handful of cards here where I was like, what is this? And I like to look at a lot of old weird cards, so I think many of you will get some new toys today.
This thing is, like, literally just immune to removal, right? They board clear, he goes away until end of turn.
Right.
Like, it just comes back over and over and over again. That's incredibly annoying.
Mm-hmm. It's great.
How do you deal with it?
You don't. You deal around it. The ways that you can get rid of Norin are activated abilities that would deal damage or, like, remove it, since he's not triggered by that. But that's it. So like it's a very specific thing. You need something that taps to deal damage or something. But here, though, we are warp worlding. So you make sure that your play group knows that you're running Warp World and some of the other cards that are in here, because I think they are very fun, but there's certainly a number of people that don't. It's just Chaos Warp, but for all of your permanents. All of them. Every player. All of them.
That even lands?
Even lands.
So you just get to roulette the entire board state?
Yes.
I mean, that's kind of fun.
Mm-hmm. You, of course, still end up with Norin because he's run away. A Goblin Game is like one of the memeiest cards. This card was printed in Plane Shift.
Plane Chase. It's not Plane Shift, it's Plane Chase, right?
Is it? Wait, I think we... Plane Shift. Plane Chase is the game mode, right? With the big cards.
You said Plane Shift?
Plane Shift.
Why did I think it was Plane Chase?
Because there is...
It's just more recent.
Yeah, they've more recently used that term. I want to say there's like some very funny Oracle rulings for this, but this is just block of text to do silly hide objects behind your back game. Like this was so long ago. This was even before the things that we were talking about, where we're like, oh god, we're old.
Yep.
They just for some reason made this super weird, silly card that does like
the precursor to an unset, basically.
Yes.
Whoever pushed for the unsets probably had a hand in this.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's see. Oh, did we? I think we did the episode where you... Yeah, because this was the pre-con episode where you cast Tempt with Mayhem and everybody was like, yep, tempted. I'm tempted. Yeah. That's a very fun spell that I think people should play casually. Yeah, we're seeing more board wipes, so we are just pretty committed to like not worrying about playing our own creatures here and letting Norin do the work. And Perforos is not even a creature, really.
Not in this deck.
Not in this deck. We're not gonna. We don't have permanents, so.
And half the time, our like one of 3 permanents is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Like
right.
Even if you did manage to activate him somehow, he would just go away every time your opponents cast something.
Yeah, that's that's especially cute if you actually somehow have Perforos as a creature. You cast a board wipe, but because Norin gets exiled, that is the one pip that turns it back into just an enchantment. Yeah. Okay.
It'll depend on the enchantments, I guess, is the only way to get pips.
Yes.
And there are quite a few double pips here in enchantments, so it's possible.
Yeah. Okay. So we are being a little mean here because a lot of the artifacts and enchantments are some like prison stacks pieces. You know, running like Trinisphere and Winter Moon and Damping Matrix to really shut down a lot of the things that our opponents are trying to do. But especially like Damping Matrix, I'm okay with here because that is turning off the thing that kills Norin. Because now if you have a thing that taps and deals a damage to Norin, you can't use it. So I think that's a reasonable include here. Trinisphere, Winter Moon, that's a little rough. Particularly for a deck that is focused on, you know, a more casual chaos style. But it does give you the time to be able to set that up.
Quick shout out to Dana Fisher Magic for the raid. Welcome. We're doing Patreon deck techs right now for Decked Out. And also Dusky the Bear for the Twitch sub. Thank you.
Yeah. Let's see. What else do we have? I think these are fun and silly. Includes Ronin War Club and Obsidian Battle Axe. they auto attach when a creature, or for the battle axe specifically a warrior, comes into play. So they will, every time that Norin blinks, come back onto Norin.
Cute.
It is cute, and it does matter for like 3 cards in here, which I think we'll get to in enchantments.
I remember Genesis Chamber, but I don't exactly remember what it does. I feel like that's probably doing something weird in this deck.
Yes, I love this card. It's just any creature enters, you make a 1/1, and it is symmetrical. So you are guaranteed to be triggering it at least once on each player's turn, but it can be very dangerous if you're playing against like elves or something. That's like, great, 1-drop, 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 and I get a 1/1 for each of those.
Yeah. But we can probably take advantage of them more.
Yeah.
Right? Like, the elves, they don't pump their other elves, so they're just 1/1s. Whereas, like, you are like, oh, you all get shocked each time you cast a spell because I'm getting this.
Right. I wonder also if there's a way to tap it, because this has... I wonder why they did this, but a lot of the old artifacts were like, this only functions if it's untapped. And they did this for a card that was printed in Dark Steel, I believe, the first time. But I don't remember seeing anything that allows us to tap our own artifacts. But it's specific.
It's like the card draw one, right?
Yeah, like Hallie Mine.
Yep. Because that doesn't have a built-in way to tap itself, right?
Right. Okay, we're in enchantments. This is new.
Someone said the tokens from the chamber for the mass warp. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And all right, well, let's just jump to the OG Norin tech, because it's also relevant for Genesis Chamber. This is like back before Commander was, the flagship format. This is the thing people were doing in Commander. Artifact, creature, enchantment comes into play. You switch it with another thing that shares the same type.
And then when Norin blinks, it goes back to its owner's control?
Yep. Which then triggers confusion in the ranks again.
As you steal everybody's stuff.
Yes.
Huh.
And because they can't interact with Norin, it just they have to, I guess, destroy confusion in the ranks.
Which not every deck can do. Certainly not like most decks have like 1-2 answers or something, but like not a lot.
Yes.
That's I wouldn't even be mad if someone did that.
Right. Oh, also for you, whether you're thinking about picking up this card because it's very weird and fun, or if you've already been playing it, this triggers itself. Everyone forgets this. Confusion in the ranks says whenever an artifact, creature, or an enchantment comes into play, it itself is an enchantment, so it triggers itself. You immediately get to switch it with somebody else's enchantment.
Okay.
Okay. So here we will also see things like impact tremors, and there's Pandemonium, I think, right? Yes, Pandemonium, and one other maybe that creatures ETB deal damage. And Pandemonium in particular works with the Obsidian Battle Axe and Ronin War Club combo, because you can just stack the triggers so that those equipments are already on there by the time that this wants to deal damage equal to power. I was thinking... Oh, this was the #1 card in my head. I was like, I sure hope this card is in here, because I don't see anybody play this card. This is one of the few cards in Magic that mentions the stack in its regular text, and it just is chaos. There is no good way to use this card. You randomly select every target for anything. Like, it is the epitome of, this card is bad, this is what I like to do to the game.
That would make winning games rather difficult. Spell or an ability specifically. So your straight up creature decks would be pretty okay.
Yeah, because they can still go, okay, swing.
Yeah.
But
they just keep playing creatures and attacking, and you're trying to remove their creatures or interact with them in some way, and it's just like, you can't. interesting.
Yeah. Like it just is chaos.
And the other thing that I like about it in this deck particularly is because this deck is already so hard to interact with. Like they have to destroy this, right? Because there's no other way to interact with your commander. And then adding this second layer of just turning it into like the 3 answers you maybe all have cumulatively is no longer like a guaranteed hit is nuts.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty silly. And what a way to pillow fort.
Yeah.
Like...
Just break the game.
Just stacks on stacks of this is incredibly difficult to deal with.
Oh, I want to point out invasion plans here, because this is a card that I just recently brought up in a different one of my videos, because it goes really well with Norin, but not this Norin. I think it's already a fun card because it just attackers choose how blocks go. That's fun. But you are forced to choose all of the creatures that are able to... any creature that's able to block has to block. Another, just you're turning game rules on their head. But the new Norin, which might as well put in this deck, is whenever a creature is blocked, you can exile it, and then you can cast creatures that are exiled this way. And more that I think about it, it probably doesn't fit this deck, but I'm just like, oh, that's interesting. This card, which is good with both Norins, that nobody's really playing anywhere else.
Also want to say quick thank you to Stylin. Thank you so much. We have a new YouTube member. That's new. We don't have very many of those. I really do appreciate it. We actually have a box opening video of Dustmorn Collector Booster Box that'll go to our members here on YouTube. And I'm working really hard on trying to make sure the members get early access to main episodes.
Oh, fancy.
So, yeah, Stylin, be on the lookout for that. You'll be getting some cool perks for being a member. Appreciate the support.
Okay, I think the last thing for just like generally going over the deck, again, more things that people probably haven't seen. Probably people shouldn't see this one, but Smoke exists. It's more red stacks when back in the day when they thought that was a thing. I don't no idea why that was in Red's color pie originally, but yeah. If you can only untap one creature, but you don't care about your creatures at all, then this seems pretty good.
His deck has none.
Yeah. No, I can't untap Perforos.
Yeah, it has 2.5 creatures.
Yeah.
Oh, and some mirrors.
Yes. Okay. So this deck, it leans for sure heavily into the chaos, since we see Grip of Chaos, we see Possibility Storm, the Confusion in the Ranks classic combo, and other things like Warp World. I am conflicted for sure about the aggressive stacks, though, because one of the things that I enjoy the most about playing chaos decks is that then having the other players at the table play into it. Like, if I've created this chaotic mess, I want people to then have to do a thing to trigger the chaos. But if they can't cast their spells because they're locked under a winter moon, that's not as interesting to me. It may make the deck more successful if you're just trying to win with it, but for my personal building, those would be some of the first cards that I would cut. Just because, yeah, what good is chaos if you aren't having other players chaosing?
You want to take advantage of it. That makes sense.
Right.
We have a few more triggers, impact tremors. But I am surprised there isn't more in the creature area, because you're right, there's some really good ones.
Let me see. What did I...
Wow. Stylin says, I love your channel. It's the first time I've subbed to anything. You guys and your content is fantastic. Oh, thank you. That's amazing. Awesome. Thank you so much. Also, the support is real because we just got another $10 patron.
Hey.
Max, signing up just in time. Next week, the week after, we're going to start shipping out these.
Oh.
We made new stickers. Veggie made, like, customized it. It says, Mountain, do you pay the one? So we'll be sending those out with some signed tokens at the end of the month. So perfect timing. Thank you so much, Max.
I think it's funny.
It is very funny.
Yes. Other thoughts. Oh, a personal favorite for chaosy stuff. I guess this is maybe not as effective since we are controlling the creatures on the board a lot, but I like impulsive maneuvers. Symmetrical effect. Any creature attacks, you flip a coin per creature. Win the flip, then double damage. Lose the flip, damage prevented. It's just another layer to the chaos if we're leaning into that. You don't need any synergy with it at all. Just let it fly. Sometimes things will hit real hard. Sometimes they won't hit at all.
And they'll have random targets.
Yeah.
Silly.
I am tempted to see what this deck looks like with more of a commitment to actually putting creatures on the board. Because you do get all of those other like Perforos effects that are attached to creatures. You can run also like anything that cares about other creatures entering. Alliance? Was that the name of the mechanic from Capenna? I don't know. There's like Rose Room Treasurer. Yeah. Stuff like this. Creature enters, make a treasure. Or second time a creature enters, deal damage. Like, obviously, with this creature count, it would not be great. But with other ones, you're guaranteed at least one. So if you're guaranteed double trigger if you play a creature. Because you've cast a spell, Norin blinks. And you get your second one. But I think with this current build, you probably are not keeping your own creatures around for very long.
Brian Judge says, big fan of the channel. Is Maltown and Z going to be back anytime soon? Short answer is yes. Maltown and Z actually will be on a Dustmorn episode that will air on 9/16. But I also think we might have one in the can with the two of them. Maybe we used them all. It's been a little bit. I have lied. We do not have one in the can with them anymore.
Yeah.
Those usually, because they're so local, so they tend to come in for episodes that are recorded more last minute. So like early access and stuff like that, because it's like we get the decks and then they come in. But then our guests that fly in from out of town, that takes a lot of setting up. So we tend to do, decks that have more leeway time. So yes, they will be on an episode that we are filming tomorrow with these decks. I need to finish those tonight. And it will air on 9/16. Final thoughts, Veggie?
Final thoughts. Yeah, I mean, it's great to see, like...
Why do we have Snowlands?
We have Snowlands for one reason, and I forget what it is.
You should play the Snowland with the little dragon. It's my favorite.
There's, I think, maybe one card that cares about snow. I just don't remember what it is. Or maybe I'm making that up. That could just be a cheeky, like, it is optimal to play Snowlands over basics.
Unless someone plays that thing that makes your snow permanents come into play tapped. Right? That's a card.
That is a card. I don't know. I don't think. I think it's. I think they just exist to exist.
Fair enough. All right. Final thoughts, Veggie?
Yeah, it's a classic commander from the olden days of Commander when it was a niche format, but updated with a bunch of new cards and still a bunch of old classics. I think it's very fun. And the only thing that I would do if it were my deck would be bump some of the stacks pieces out for even more chaos. But yeah, this seems pretty solid.
I like it. You know, this is a classic commander. I've never seen it at a table, but I'm also a pretty new commander player. Only the last 3-ish years, because I started right before we started the show, and our 2-year anniversary is in October. So, you know, we're on episode 65, so I've probably, you know, played like 100 games of Commander.
Yeah, this is the kind of Commander that I would see all the time. That when I was playing games of Commander with this, you were out winning a bunch of money.
Yes, I was grinding GPs at the time.
Yeah.
So I would love to see something like this at the table because it seems like a really cool interaction, and I'm not tired of it. The same thing, this is even older, but I feel like I had the same opinion of like Lathreel. I saw her and I was like, oh, this is really cool. And you're like, oh, people hate her. She's so old news. And everybody runs her and like yada yada. And I was just like, oh, I feel like I missed the train on a lot of this cool stuff. Like it's, you know, it was popular, it's cool, and it's like nobody runs it anymore. So special shout out to Kai. Thank you so much for showing us this cool, interesting version of Norin. Second time I've seen it. I would love to see it at the table someday. Shout out to Radiation Burn for the Twitch Prime. Thank you for the 22 months of support. We shouted out all of our new patrons and such. So next up, we're going to move on to Dshultz, who has submitted a Nihiri list for us.
Yeah. Nihiri Forge and Fury. I am just not an equipment commander guy. Just does not do it for me. Usually, because the commanders for those decks are bad. This is one exception. I like this commander. So, Affinity for Equipment, that is a big reason that I think is good, because usually you're casting this for 2 mana, and then when an equipped creature attacks, you impulse draw. But if it's an equipment, you play them for free. That is a lot. And I think, honestly, it is what equipment needs to be a deck that I enjoy. Because otherwise, I think they are a very slow burn that get blown out by a lot of things. This one, not so much.
I've played a handful of equipment decks on the show to various success rates. It's real scary or real sad.
Yeah, I think... Yeah, because you get one thing. It's like, oh, I got to do my thing. People let me do the thing, and now I just destroy everybody.
Dead.
Or I got completely blown out by like a Vandal Blast or 1 piece of removal. But yeah, I really like this kind of commander for an equipment deck.
All right, I'm gonna let you hold the fort down for a sec. I will be right back.
Sure. It also means you get to run all of the other commanders in the 99, which is where they belong. You get, Akiri for some protection and card draw. You get Astor for some mana reduction and card advantage. Stuff like Balin. It's just this is how you do it. Because you still get all those powerful effects, but like this in the command zone is cool, but just gets wrecked by the other commanders these days. I like being able to have these effects just in my hand. We get to play with some of the new Assassin's Creed stuff. Cassandra and the Spear of Leonidas are in this deck. I think that they're pretty busted. But yeah, this is just like equipment commander soup as your creatures. Totally fine. Shocking Discovery. I think this is probably just here for some cute card advantage, but not anything else that I see. Yeah, single combat seems fantastic. Everybody ends up with one creature left on the board, but yours just happens to be stacked with a bunch of equipment. And players not being able to cast means you are going to hit at least one person real hard. I'm going to assume that you have a bunch of swords in here, so I'd honestly want to see more damage-based board wipes, since you probably have a bunch of ways to give your creatures protection from red. But we'll see that in a moment.
I see at least 2.
Yeah. And here, yeah, Sword of Iron Ice pro red. Fortune Frontier is pro red. Maybe that's not enough for me to make that complaint. But yeah, you get to run all kinds of cool equipment. This, honestly, if anything, seems a little light, right? Because not even all of these are equipment. What are our heavy hitters here? You have the swords, Embercleave. Yeah.
I like Embercleave, but I'm glad I don't have to do Embercleave math anymore. Just like every single time my opponent goes to combat, I'm just like, okay, +1 times 2.
Yeah.
Like, okay, subtract my butt on my creature. Is that, greater than or equal to my life total? Proceed.
Yeah, there's some very cool includes here. The plate armor is fun because you are probably equipping this for 0. But I'd want to see bigger equipment here, because the one of the big things that Nihiri can do is cast your equipment for free if you've exiled it off the top. So give me the big chunky ones. I don't know what big scary equipment. Like Cauldra. Well, okay. We should mention. I think it's listed up here, but if not, it was in notes that I saw. Oh, it's in the primer. Dshultz was building this with the restraint of no for Mirrodin, no living weapon.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes.
How come?
No particular reason that was listed.
4 Mirrodin seems pretty good.
It does, I agree. So maybe it is just like so that it's not super broken. But yeah, that is why we're not seeing any of those cards. And maybe why I can't suggest Cauldra Complete here, because that is a living weapon. There's the new Excalibur, which seems really good here. Why are you angry at me? What is this? Quantity. They have the big sideboard. Yes. Okay. That's why. I totally think this should be main deck. Like, fun card, big number, make happy, but you can cast it for free off Nihiri, or it probably just costs like practically no mana because it's reduced by the number of other equipment that you have, or by the costs of your other equipment, because they are all historic permanents. I would definitely like to see this in the main deck.
Side note, quick shout out to my preview card for Janu.
Oh, ooh. Yeah, we like free equips.
That was my preview card. That was cool. They gave me a good one.
Mm-hmm. Like, she seems like someone that would like to hit somebody with a sword.
Yep. Correct. Also, do you remember that time we played in the trivia game and Sword of Animus was not on the list?
Oh, of the like Family Feud style game, we polled this group of we polled this group of Magic people. What are the top 10 swords in Magic?
And Sword of the Animus was not on it. That was shocking.
It shocked us right out of the game.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I like, these are all very good equipment. I live for like that big, for like max value out of something. So I'd really want to see some more expensive ones.
Colossus Hammer. You have all of the ways to equip for free. Why aren't we equipping it?
That's true. You're going the opposite direction of what I'm saying. But like, I also think
that was a side note, like the next thing.
Yeah, I know. But I'm with you on that. Like, also that, because you have big silly equipment that, even though you don't care about the cost reduction, yeah, Hammer of Nizan to equip for free, Forge Anew to equip for free,
All your creatures,
all the creatures that equip for free.
Yeah, that
seems very cool.
I was not trying to tack on to the card you were talking about. I was thinking other equipment should be here.
Yeah. Yeah, this looks like a good time. I definitely want to see how inventory management plays out.
Does she have no arms?
No, she's going like this.
Oh. I was like, are the I thought the guns were like attachments or something, because I couldn't see them.
She's just sitting there like, how do I get these on?
Like the waterbender from Avatar.
Yeah.
She uses the water arms.
Mm-hmm. She's just a gun bender.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like this is the kind of card that makes me want to play equipment, because this seems very fun.
So you think you would up the equipment number? How does the lands and mana rocks look? Didn't get that far.
Well, the mana rocks look like none.
Yeah.
We have a Soul Ring.
I feel like if you're not going to put any other ones, might as well not put Soul Ring. Make it unique.
Or just put them in. Just put them all in, because
I agree with that.
One of the struggles I do think with equipment is that they are overcosted. Like, you get the additional like value that they're reusable, but generally what you get out of them, I don't want to pay that much mana for, which is why I don't like equipment decks. So the ramp is important. Granted, your commander is helping you to play them for free, so that's good. But ramp, we can count like 3 of the cards in here though as somewhat ramp, because you get Bureau Headmaster, which equipment decks desperately needed. They needed a 2 mana reduce your stuff. I believe Bladegraft Aspirant does the same thing. Yeah, equipment costs less. And this is, yes, and then Danitha, but like, give me the rocks. I'll give you all my very quick spiel on, you should just run ramp. You should run a bunch of ramp. I don't care what the deck is. Do it. Because if you play a mana rock on turn 2, that is 1 extra mana at the least for the next how many turns? Think about what you're casting off of that 1 extra mana for, like, even if your game is only taking another 5 turns. That's a lot of mana. And that's not even counting any of the other things that like untapping that, or synergy with artifacts coming in, stuff like that.
But it's 1 less card.
But it's not 1 less card if you are also playing card draw.
So the answer is just play blue.
Look, every color has ways to gain card advantage.
No, I agree with you, but I do think that there are decks that don't, and there are play groups that don't. And if you're going to go that route, then you cut the Soul Ring.
Yeah, convince your play group that they all should run ramp.
But if nobody's running it, then it's all the same.
Yeah, but then that gives like green a big advantage, and nobody wants that. I think
someone is correcting me that it is Legend of Korra, not Avatar: The Last Airbender. I was speaking more to the universe, not the specific segment of the show that it is in. But
yeah,
sure.
Yeah, I'm like, yes, Avatar, all of Avatar, i.e. Avatar: The Last Airbender universe. That is all of Avatar for me in my brain. I'm just like, yes, that means all of it.
Also, I always say Avatar: The Last Airbender because now a good chunk of people think of blue people. which was never a problem I had for, many, many years.
Yeah. For sure, this seems light to me on lands if we are not playing any ramp.
Agreed.
I would be okay with it if we were running the rocks that were available to us. Because you do have a commander that you're probably casting for pretty cheap and then using it to cast things for free. I think my besides Excalibur, the one I was like immediately thinking about was Bloodforged Battle Axe something.
Isn't that a Mirrodin card?
I don't see it. No.
I'm probably getting a different one. Someone said never cut Soul Ring. I mean, I think there's an argument to have playgroups that don't play Soul Ring because the card's boring and makes for imbalanced, kind of unfun games.
Bloodforged Battle Axe. Yes, this seems like a Bloodforged Battle Axe deck. Because you play it early, and you start making copies of it, and all of those copies reduce the cost of your commander.
Mm-hmm.
And you have all of these things that care about, number of equipment, or, like Kiri can unattach an equipment to give indestructible. You want those spare equipment, especially if you are getting to equip them for free. So that seems like a knockout.
There's also another equipment that comes into play as a copy of an equipment.
That they do have, I think. Yes, Masterwork of
Yep.
Ingenuity. Which then you could be another copy of your Bloodforged Battle Axe.
Woo! All of the axes. There's definitely a fair number of equipments. We need more lands, we need more rocks, but beyond that, let's just take a quick look at the sideboard. A couple more swords in the sideboard. I like the idea of commander sideboards. Not in the traditional way where you can search for cards and wish them, but in the way of I think it's good to have a handful of cards where it's like you can take out your infinite combo to play at a weaker table, or add one if you're like, I have this deck and it doesn't match.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Or sometimes you're just like, this card made me mad. This card goes on timeout. I need to put another card in my deck. Let's see. Stuff in here. I think most of these are fine. I don't remember what Evior does.
It's the kind
Ivor.
It's the kind of situation where you have just a ton of options.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Oh, totally run call though. This card is messed up.
I feel when you have builds that are this specific that care about a thing, and in this case it's equipment. Similar can be said to elf decks, where you have more than 99 good elves.
Yeah.
So you might prefer one of these better, but is it better in some situations? Maybe not in others. So it's balanced.
Right. In the situations where I say that I think the card is better, then it is
just
better.
Right. Yeah.
I do highly recommend Call in particular, just because you are running a little lighter on creatures than a normal deck, because you need space for the equipment. So any chance you get to recycle those creatures seems good. But otherwise I think, yeah, pretty solid.
I just want to say, I heard someone the other day say sort of WOP, and I thought it was War and Peace, and you thought it was what?
Wealth and Power.
Wealth and Power. But then I just wanted to note that we have sort of Oaf. And I like that one better.
I've never heard anybody call it that, and that I think you should make that that is the thing now.
I'm gonna run that card, and I'm gonna call it sort of Oaf.
Yeah, you actually should post that. You should be like, sort of WAP, old news, sort of Oaf,
sort of sass.
Mm-hmm.
I like that too.
Sort of bam.
Okay, I will make that post after this stream.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a little tougher for me to make judgments on a deck like this because I play them so this is just one of my least played archetypes.
Yeah, I usually end up with these on the stream, on the show.
Yeah.
We had one patron list for this that I used. And then we're playing Secret Commanders. A little bit of a spoiler for you guys. Next Monday, Secret Commanders. Mine is Colossus Hammer. So the whole point of the deck is just get Colossus Hammer out. And then do messed up stuff with it. So, similar.
I think it's a good idea. It probably does not need this. I wonder if there's anything cute that allows you to put equipment on the top of your library besides like Enlightened Tutor, so that you guarantee to hit big with Nihiri, but I can't think of any.
Okay. Special thank you again to Dshultz for submitting a list and being a patron and supporting the show. We really do appreciate it. We've done 5 in 2 hours.
Easy, yeah. All right. That means we can take it slow for these.
All right. Thank you so much again, Dshultz. Let's go ahead and head on over to Red's list. Red is a longtime patron, and we're going to be looking at a Kudo, King Among Bears. This was featured on the show. This is one of the Dshultz decks.
Yes.
Not this list, I mean, but the commander.
Yeah. Wait, he did a Kudo one?
I thought, wasn't Kudo, we did a typo one with Dshultz, I thought.
I think that one was a Eula.
Oh.
That was this one.
Oh, I thought it was Kudo.
They actually look, they're married.
Maybe it got played or something, and that's why it's in my brain. Like maybe it was played on the board. I just remember that card.
He probably has both.
Yeah.
Yes, Kudo, King Among Bears, and Breaker of Rules. I will have to. All right, I'll explain this later. I'll explain this later. This card gets much more complicated than you can possibly realize. But for most normal Magic players, this just turns everything into a 2/2.
For most nerd girls.
Yes. It has some interactions that no one will ever need to know, that I will explain after we go over the deck. So you get to run stuff that takes advantage of that. So counters means that you have an advantage over everybody else's creatures because they're all 2/2s. Elish Norin means good luck anybody ever playing a creature ever again, because it dies immediately. My notes for this deck list are a little shorter than for the other ones because I immediately went down a rabbit hole of the weird interaction that I will explain after this, because it's very, very complicated.
That doesn't sound like you at all.
Yeah.
So we have, like Charismatic Conqueror, so like all of the tokens will get a boost. It's like a small thing. Grand Cenobite kills everything on the board, which is really cool with the bear.
Yeah, you want to go. You want everything but a 2/2 because your 1/1s or smaller get buffed, and you want counters to buff your creatures.
Are we doing anything cute with counters with the Evolution Witness?
Not that I see.
Saheeli, that adds counters. This is my kind of deck.
Saheeli.
Right?
Oh, Shalai, yes.
Oh, yep. That's...
I was like, Saheeli, there's a she has changed colors.
My bad. It's basically the same thing in my head.
Yeah. I think Mikaeus can also, you can move counters onto it.
Guide of Souls also adds counters.
Yep. Glunch also adds counters.
Okay, we got
Good
some
Fortune
stuff.
Unicorn counters. So you will have plenty of value out of your Evolution Witness.
Yeah, that's my kind of deck.
And Basking Broodskale.
Rosie Cotton.
Yes, wherever she is, yes.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah. So big counter synergy in lethal creatures. Okay.
Pretty normal suite of sorceries and instants.
Yeah. This is Requisition Raid is a card that I keep putting into more and more of my decks, just because these are. It's just like 3 things that you will always have, like, targets for.
Yeah.
It's very flexible, very good. Highly recommend.
And it triggers the evolution sage.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All of the counters. It works better in this deck than in most.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we have a lot of ways to protect the creatures.
Yeah.
Phase them out. Phase them out. Give them indestructible. Protect for forever.
Hexproof.
Yeah.
With the Tamiyo safekeeping.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because this is a pretty creature-heavy deck with 37 creatures, so that is the big weakness. Is if you get board wiped, that's rough. I don't think that this deck will be particularly good at rebuilding. So, hey, look, Concordant Crossroads. Case of the Locked Hothouse. What are you here for? Extra land drop, and then I guess you just really are looking for other ways to gain card advantage since you can cast off the top.
Yeah, I did see that you had the Beast Whisperer here as well.
Mm-hmm.
There's some more counters as well. We didn't say Heliod, but that's in there. And then you have counters with like Branching Evolution, Hardened Scales, like literally everything. So your bears are going to be real big, buff, swole bears.
Yeah.
I don't even know what the Trouble in Pairs does. I just can only look at that card without thinking of the stolen art.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I see when I look at that card now.
That's good, because that means that you've not gotten just wrecked by the raw card advantage of this thing by anybody. This card is absurdly good. It is like comparable to Rhystic Study. It is very definitely not that good, because there's practically nothing that's that good. But it's just, hey, draw a card whenever your opponent does a commander thing. Okay. 30 lands. You get a couple extras with the MDFCs. Sure.
There were quite a few in there, actually.
3, according to Moxfield.
Yeah.
That's a tough sell. That's a tough sell. We have Utopia Sprawl to ramp. We have 3 sorceries that ramp. There weren't any. You have a birds and Incubation Druid, Kami,
Basking Broodscale, kind of.
Broodscale. I think you could count, because you're probably putting counters on that for pretty cheap.
And then we had like these things, right?
I counted those.
You did.
We're still only at 8. The curve here is low.
No rocks.
But I would be worried. This feels like a deck that would like Llanowar Elves and all of the functional copies of those.
Yeah, the other thing too is that like the mana is low, but with cards like Beast Whisperer, Walking Ballista, there's like a ton of reasons we want to be spending mana. Shalai.
Yeah.
So like getting to a mass number 10 plus mana is not going to be bad for this deck. It's not like some elf decks or something where you don't have use for anything beyond 5 and your elves produce 20 each. This isn't really like that.
Yeah. Yeah, Red is saying that this is maybe a little bit more combo focused, doing a counter combo with Heliod or Broodscale. Okay. All right. I'm gonna give you the suggestion. Use it if you'd like, but it does mean that you will have to play one of the most complicated cards in an already complicated game of Magic the Gathering.
Is this your rabbit hole?
Yeah.
Okay. You were waiting very patiently.
Yes. I'm going to you cut me off when you think that I have talked about this too much.
Okay, I will.
That leaves. The card we're going to talk about is Humility.
It was getting dark, that's all.
So, this card is pretty good in this deck. But this infamously breaks so many things in this game. Okay, so on the surface, each creature loses all abilities and is a 1/1 creature. If your average casual Magic player, honestly, pretty much anybody that is not a stupid nerd on this kind of thing is just like, oh great, okay, so if I play Humility and I have Kudo out, nothing has any abilities, everything is a 1/1. But that's not how it works. The actual result of having those two cards on the board is Kudo still has the ability because of a very, very complicated thing. I'm not going to explain all of how it works because it just takes a very long time because of all the things that you have to explain to line it up. The short version, as short as I can get, is that when there are static effects, like other creatures have base power toughness 2/2, there is a system of layers where you apply each one in order. Because Kudo changes two things, he both changes that power and toughness goes to 2/2, and that creatures become bears. Those are separate layers. Humility only changes the power and toughness and removes abilities. Kudo does its effect on either side of Humility. It's like, oh, apply that everything is a bear. Apply that everything becomes a 1/1 and has no abilities. Apply that everything becomes a 2/2. Because of weird, stupid magic things, he then regains his ability because this is applying on either side of Humility. That is the best short way that I can explain this.
But your initial premise was the reason it does that is because Kudo has two things, but
yes.
The other thing also has two things. Because removing all abilities and they become 1/1s is the same thing as bears and 2/2, same number of things.
Yes, I guess I mean he has two things that are on either side of the things that Humility does in the layers stuff. So yeah, it's like Kudo's first thing, Humility's first thing, Humility's second thing, Kudo's second thing. And so Kudo happens to override Humility in a weird way. So that is you do not want me to get to explain the rest of it because it's super boring except for like 5 people.
That's totally fine. Now, what is the point? If it overrides it, why are we talking about this card?
Because you are still removing all abilities from the rest of creatures, which hurts pretty much everybody else. You are left with a bunch of 2/2s that have a lot of counters on them.
Yes, if you do it at the end of the game, sure.
Or even in the middle of it, because you know the rest of your things have are generally adding counters to things.
Now, that would mean that the creature's ability, you're playing that just to remove other creature abilities while also turning yours off as well. Doesn't seem worth it.
It's worth it to then have to explain this at every game that you play.
That also does not seem worth it. And people aren't going to believe anyone.
Yeah, but that's if you want to transform all of your games into a giant argument on the intricacies of static effect layers in Magic the Gathering, then it's great.
So short story time. I will accept this because I'm the person who brought Demigod of the Revenge to a modern GP just to get people to counter it on the stack, to then put it in and bring it back with the trigger and have someone call a judge on me every turn. That was my goal. That card. So yes, I will I will approve of this message, because I was like, I don't care if I win this GP, I just want to have this happen every single time and have someone counter me and then get it back anyway. And it was like super not a thing in Modern. I was buying the cards for it. I was like, do you have Demigod? And like all the vendors were like, of Revenge? I was like, is there another? And they're like, no. I'm like, well then yes. But yeah, I brought that to a Modern GP and it was like not a thing.
Mm-hmm. Yes, for those of you out here, the specifics here are, it is a cast trigger. So if somebody counters Demigod before that cast trigger resolves, it itself is in your graveyard and returns itself to the battlefield using its own ability. And that is just not a thing that a lot of players will think about.
So I cast it. I was playing it in my Vengevine deck. And so I would load up my graveyard with a bunch, and then I would cast it, and they'd be like, no, I can't let that resolve. Counter it, and I'm like, cool, it's gonna go into my graveyard, resolve the ability. And then like they're like, that's not how that works. And I'm like, they're like, it already resolved. I was like, no, it didn't, you have to specify. And then they called the judge, and every single round it made my heart grow 2 sizes. So like, this is a more intense, useless version of that, but I will still allow it.
Yes. I'd have to spend a very long time figuring out how you actually get any other benefit out of it, but
you just want to talk about it. You learned a cool thing and you want to include it in the deck. No, Brian, there isn't. The gain will just increase the sensitivity in which it like activates. So you'll hear like, I don't know, stomach growl or something. But it's as loud as it can go. And I don't know what else to do.
Yeah, I don't know. New mic, right?
Yeah, the new mic. But this is the first time anyone has talked about it being too quiet. I've been streaming with it for days. Now it is usually like a little bit more directed at me, but yeah, there's nothing we can do about it. Sorry. Final notes on tokens, encounters, and bears, oh my?
Yes. Seems good. Fun commander, good synergy. Up your land count a little bit. Or honestly, if I'd be happy just to sub out a couple cards for like Llanowar Elves, some more dorks, since those are also creatures that are going to end up getting buffed by a lot of your other effects. But this does, even with the low curve, seems kind of starved for mana unless you are really, unless your mulligan rules are really loose. Yeah, because all your card draw too is like 4 mana or higher. I want to say that there are some other cute like effects that care about your opponents having 2/2s, because this is more focused on your creatures, just your creatures being base 2/2 and then getting bigger. There may be some other things to find, but I cannot think of them off the top of my head.
Okay. The Elish Norn is kind of mean, I will say. I think that is the appropriate amount of mean cuteness that I approve. Grasp of Fate seems like an interesting choice.
Yeah, I feel like I haven't seen Grasp of Fate for a while. I mean, it's nice because it hits one thing from everybody. You just have to watch out for enchantment removal.
Yeah. All right, so I think that is going to be it for Kudo. I think it's the first time we've seen it. I think the other one that we saw was a Eula. I think you're right, Veggie. So special thank you to Red for submitting today's deck list. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much for being a patron. And then we've got our very last minute submission from Dusk, who decided to send in one right before the show. I'm really glad we could get this deck list in today. Thank you, Dusk, for being a patron.
Yeah. Oskier. I feel like this was very, very hot for a while. And then we got a million other commanders.
We do get a lot of commanders.
Yeah. But this is some very, very cool tech. So, you know, decent sized creature, but you can pay 1 and sack an artifact to boost the creature. Yeah, we don't really care. It's the second ability, X, and tap it, exile an artifact that costs X from your graveyard and make 2 token copies of it. Cool. So of course, stuff like Ready to dump artifacts into your graveyard by discarding and drawing. Also synergizes well with itself to get those bigger ones out of your graveyard. Same here. Nihiri is just tossing stuff into your graveyard to be able to use Oskier's ability on. Gives you a little incidental removal as well. And I assume we will see lots of artifacts, so reducing them by 2 is good.
I'm just looking at the creatures. Most of them are artifacts. Like a good chunk of them, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because they're either going to be big and chunky, like the Battle Sphere, because we have ways to reanimate them, or they will be very little, so that we can make copies of them. Ooh, Zerda. I like Zerda here, because you are reducing Oskier's ability by 2. So if you pay 1 mana, you can exile an artifact that costs 3 and get 2 copies of it. So that seems strong. Ooh, and so Oswald Fiddlebender is one of those cards where if somebody plays it, you're like, oh, you know this deck very well then. Because a repeatable tutor, like, you need to know what you're looking for this card. It's real good in this deck because it continues to feed cards to Oskier. But you've got to know a lot of the cards in your deck off the top of your head. Let's see.
So Dusk is saying that it's there to put together an infinite combo.
Which, Zerda?
No, I think the Oswald. Like, it's specifically to search out an infinite.
Search out the okay.
Check the primer.
Oh, yes, this was...
Okay.
I did not get to see this primer.
Because this was submitted right before, I might not have... I copied it like 5 minutes before the stream.
Okay.
So when you click... So normally primer, when it's there, is there not a primer? Poop. I can... Hang on one sec. I can pull it up.
Well, we may be able to suss it out.
Sure. Continue. But it is up if you decide to look. Sorry about that. Yeah, this was the like semi last minute thing, and I was rushing to transfer it over to the main account.
Gotcha.
Settle the wreckage. Oh god. So glad that's not in standard anymore. Oh my god. I hate having to think of creature math. Like what is the correct number of creatures to make them think about settling? Oh god.
Right, while still holding up something if they settle.
Or just like still having something if they settle, but like enough to make them use it or enough to make them not use it. God, that was so much brain thinking stuff.
Just be on the other end where you're the person with the settle. It makes it much easier. Okay, I've realized that I need to look at this from both directions though, because a lot of y'all use Settle the Wreckage as hitting yourself. I don't think this is one of those decks where it's like it becomes big ramp. I think it is just a solution. Okay. Artifacts. Here's where we get all the fun little tech. First of all, are we not doing classic Oscar tech? Interesting. So what I normally expect from like a typical Oscar build are artifacts like this. The ones with suspend don't have mana costs. So their mana value is 0. So you can exile them using Oscar for no mana and get 2 copies of it. That is what I thought I would see here, but I think we were taking a different angle, especially if there's mention of assembling some sort of combo. But there are a good number of these. There's Soul Talisman. There's Mox Tantalite, I believe, that is the same thing. It's a suspend card that costs 0. Or has no mana cost, and 1 Lotus Bloom. There's at least those 3.
Dusk is saying, no, this is a bit more janky. It's my pet deck, so it's not the main thing. So I have this up, and we're gonna let Veggie fiddle around a little bit more, and then I will read what the primer says.
Okay.
And I'll add it afterwards to our version of the deck list so people can find it.
Cool. All right, then I respect it, because that is like, honestly, it's the only thing I've ever seen anybody do with Oscar is weird 0 mana stuff. All right. Well, let's look for funky combo pieces. Mirror of Fate. I've talked about this card before. You exile your entire library except for 7 cards.
Mm-hmm.
So that you could use to set something up. And then Ugin's Nexus. Okay. So what happens if you Oscar this? If you would be put into a graveyard, you exile and take an extra turn. So if you make a token copy of this, you Oscar. You make 2 of these. They're legendary. 1 goes away. Extra turn. You're left with 1. Is there a way to make more copies of that token? Because it is now no longer in your graveyard. Maybe. This doesn't... No. None of these make copies. That's the first thing that I would think. Okay, well, we'll keep that in the back of our head.
In our noodle.
Yeah. I guess, yeah, you could like Illusionist Bracers your Oscar to get a copy of that ability, but then you end up with 4 Ugin's Nexuses. 3 of them go away to Legend Rule. You take 3 turns? Okay. Still keeping that in mind. I don't know what this card is. Glaring Spotlight gets around hexproof, cool, and can give you hexproof. That seems like a meta choice. Somebody is playing a hexproof commander. All right, all will be 1. That's a combo piece. Putting counters on stuff does not work with Ugin's Nexus, so maybe I'm going in the wrong direction. Echoes of Eternity. Triggered ability of a colorless spell or a colorless permanent triggers an additional time. That's just more turns.
Let me know when you give up.
Okay. Or okay, Anointed Procession, kind of. There's like the pieces. It's there. We could also maybe I'm going in the wrong direction. We're just doing a Millennium Calendar thing. You can calendar All Will Be One, not necessarily tutorable with Oscar since All Will Be One is an enchantment. All right, I think for the sake of our viewers at home,
we'll
let's
give it
see.
to you. So you were kind of close on multiple accounts. First, the Millennium Calendar, the Vexing Puzzle Box, and All Will Be One is the alternate win condition.
Mm-hmm.
So you were like close-ish there. And then the other one was Ugin's Nexus, Mirror of Fate, with Codex Shredder for infinite turns.
Ugin's Nexus, Mirror of Fate,
and Codex Shredder.
Exile all cards from your library. Put the chosen. Choose up to 7 face-up exile cards you own.
So once Oscar is on the field and the rest are on the field or in the graveyard, you can cycle Ugin's Nexus through exile, my deck, my graveyard, and multiple copies of Mirror of Fate and Codex Shredder to build up infinite number of turns. Stack my draws how I want and win the game, being purely activated triggered abilities.
Nice. Yeah, because you this gets exiled. Mirror of Fate returns it from exile back into your library, and then cute. And if you don't happen to draw it, then you just fiddle bend it back into the field. That's very silly, and I approve.
Ooh, we should do a segment where it's try to stump Veggie, where you put in like funny combos and stuff. That would be a fun little segment, and you'd probably get a lot of TikToks out of it.
I would totally do that segment. I highly encourage all of you patrons submitting decks, like make a note if there is hidden combo that you'd like me to find or not find. And
then if you put it in the primer when you submit the deck, I can take it and like have it separate so Veggie can't see it, and then I can like game show host it. That'd be kind of funny. Because I'll never find it. I don't know what these cards do.
Cool.
Play creature, attack. Although I do like Millennium Calendar.
Mm-hmm.
I like doing that in limited. I was like, I get to get myself a crumble cookie if I won with that in limited. So I do like cards like that. I just don't usually find 3-card combos. All right, Veggie, what do you think overall? We got, you always look at the rocks and the mana, right? Let's see, what are we looking at? Well, it's got like mana vault and stuff. It's got some fancy stuff.
Yeah, so the land count 34. It's reasonable. You don't have any like solid rocks besides the Signet, but you are you have mana vault and stuff to untap it, I believe. Manifold Key. Meh.
What is anger there for?
I think just because you have a lot of things that make it easy to toss it into your graveyard.
And so it's just general haste. You're not like breaking it in any way?
I don't think so. It is a little handy because you have stuff like Oswald Fiddlebender and Slowbad that want to use their tap abilities right away, but I don't think there's anything that is getting super broken by that, especially considering we're not running very many creatures. I think it's just convenient. Things are discarding.
Dusky says, Oscar goes faster with haste.
Yep, there we go.
I guess because of the tap ability? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think this is a solid deck for Anger to be in.
You have the PTSD settle the wreckage. That will upset people.
Yeah. I feel like Commander Sphere, I would trade this out for a rock that taps for multiple mana, since you already have Mana Vault synergy. Like, I could have sworn there was another one of these.
But isn't the idea that you can make copies of it so you want, like, card draw? Like, it doubles, right? I feel like it's better if you're making copies of it.
I guess. Yeah, I see that. I see that point because it conveniently also puts it into the graveyard without any anything else. Okay, yeah, I like that.
I agree, like, a better mana rock is better most of the time, but in a deck where you can abuse it in some way, seems fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, this is fun. I think a lot of my suggestions would only make this less of the pet deck weird combo style.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this feels like a homebrew that you're like, you have these things in for a reason. My like one of my first decks I ever built was like a mill deck, which was like not optimal in any way, but it was like, this is the way I want to win. It was the Guilt Feed or Traumatize.
Mm.
And everybody's like, you could just mill them out fully, like much easier. Yeah. And I'm like, but
that's no fun.
But that's no fun at all. Like, connecting with a Guilt Feeder is awesome.
Maybe like because I think I naturally assumed there were more untap effects in here, running like Patriarch's Seal, as a mana rock, that and a few other things, since they can untap Oskier, they can untap Oswald, they can untap Slowbad, they can untap. You might be able to find a general untap. I don't know if there's a general untap in white and red. But that seems pretty solid. More just feeding the jank more.
There's got to be something in colorless, right? Like some artifacts that manipulate stuff, like trading posty type. Isn't a Sonic Screwdriver untap something, or is that just tap? Like
that can untap an artifact.
And I feel like having multiples of those things could be cool.
Yes. Yeah, I see. Yeah, that and like not unwinding clock. That's in this. The other clock of omens. It's just I you know what? I realize why it's hard for me to make suggestions for this deck. Because it is a weird, janky combo pet deck, but also is still running some high power stuff like Jeweled Lotus and Mana Vault. So like I'm conflicted on if should I recommend cards that are also of that power level to fuel this more, because then I think you should be running those zero cost things that work with Oskier, because you're just using those to generate mana to do silly thing.
But then you lose some of the silly thing. It is a weird spot.
Yeah,
because it's someone who has the ability to be high power, but has chosen to specifically drop that down to make it silly. So
right, but minus some things that are like very clearly only high power. So maybe my suggestion would be, those are your first cuts. Cut the Lotus, cut the Mana Vault, find some other weird things in here.
The builder says, I would like to upgrade this to be more competitive. Suggest a way.
Okay. It's only a handful of cards. Put the suspend ones in, because again, you're still fueling a fun, funky combo. Your cards are Mox Tantalite, Soul Talisman, Lotus Bloom. You're probably good with a Lotus Petal here, if I can spell. Let's that's just off the top of my head. But you know, Lotus Petal, play for 0, crack for a mana, Oskier for 0, make 2 more Lotus Petals. That's a Black Lotus for free. You know, and then again, these no mana cost artifacts, Oskier can still exile them for no mana, and you get 2 copies of them. So it gives you this big mana advantage to be able to then pull off your wild combo. Where is the last one? Yeah, because it's a Mox, a Soul Ring, and and a Lotus. Those I think would be great.
make it a little bit faster, maybe more consistent with the mana. I like it.
Mm-hmm. And it's the funky, tricky thing that only Oscar can do.
Only Oscar?
Yeah, there's just no other thing that has that kind of ability to get around the cards that have no cost and get free copies of them.
Nice. It's a unique commander.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Veggie, would this be a thing you would enjoy playing?
Oh yeah. Commander with super unique ability, trying to set up ridiculous janky combo. That sounds like me.
Perfect for a Veggie. All right, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dusky, for submitting today's deck for our Patreon. We really do appreciate your support, and for maybe inspiring a new series where you try to stump Veggie, because that sounds like fun. That's the end of our deck lists today. I'll just double check. Yep, we did 7. This was actually for August. We were running a little bit late because we had some recordings at the tail end of last month. We will be doing another recording. Sorry, I'm leaning into you, but I'm trying to make it louder. We will be doing another one of these deck techs in about 2 weeks. So if you guys are signed up for our Patreon, you guys can already start submitting. I think there's only 2 submitted for this next month, so feel free. And if you guys have any questions, you can always ask in the Discord. Again, special thank you to our sponsors, Moxfield and TOA. If you guys would like to build any of these decks, please consider using our sponsor TOA. Get 5% off your order and help support the show. It's our biggest sponsor and we couldn't do it without them. And then similarly, Moxfield, where we keep all of our deck lists for both the main Commander show and Commander Countdown is what we call this account. So you guys can always see all of our community decks, all of the decks on the show, and all of that is brought to you by Moxfield. So make sure you guys go check them out and give us a follow because that does help the show out a ton too. Veggie, of the lists, to wrap things up, do you have a favorite of today's 7 lists? What gets the... We're no longer doing the Veggie score, but I feel like it'd be cute to have a Veggie's favorite and Nerd Girl's favorite for what was shown today.
Oh, that's so tough. Okay, I'm gonna say.
So we have Oscar, Kudo, Nihiri, Norin. The Master formed anew. How do you say that one again?
Jodah.
And Reality Chip.
Yeah, let's see. I mean, Reality Chip is the kind of high power Magic that I like to play. Norin is just brings me back to a really fun time of only playing Commander with my 3 friends and not realizing that other people were playing this. I like Kudo because any game that...
Who doesn't like bears?
Right. Well, I was going to say any game that doesn't end in a big argument about how the rules work. What is it even worth? But I think I have to give my personal favorite to out of vanity to the Master. Cheezus' the Master formed a new deck because how am I not supposed to pick a deck that somebody said, "Hey, I saw that thing where you were excited about a card and you talked about it a little bit, and I was also excited about the card, so I built the whole deck."
Okay. Mine is maybe gonna shock you. I want to play the Norin Chaos deck. It seems like fun. I don't know. I do like the idea of Chaos warping everybody's stuff.
Right?
That sounds like super fun. Someone's gonna hit a bunch of instants and sorceries and be so sad. And then just being annoying where people can't interact, but in a small pesky way, not an overly busted way, seems really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. So that would be, if I got to choose to shuffle up any of these for the show, I think that would be the one that I would pick.
Yeah. Well, wink wink spoilers, everybody. You might see some form of Norin on the show sometime soon.
Really? Did we already film it?
No.
Oh.
It's in the box.
Oh, it's being... Oh my god.
It's literally in the box right now.
It's literally being filmed tomorrow. Oh wow. I didn't look at the commanders that we're playing tomorrow, but yeah, there's I haven't built it yet. Again, thank you all so much for being here. Don't forget to come back. We're going to be doing these every single month, and we will be doing another one here in September, so you can come back, watch the live ones. And if you would like to submit your deck list, become a patron of Decked Out. It helps support the show and keep us weekly. Thank you all so very much. We really do appreciate it.
What she said.
Yeah. Links down below in the description. If you guys want to find any of the other channels or socials, feel free. Now, for those of you guys who are on Twitch, we're going to be rating AirballMTG, which is our other co-host who is currently streaming in the other room. So make sure you guys go show some love to Airball and let him know that you guys love Decked Out. All right, we're going to send the raid over. Thank you all so much for being here. Okay, raiding is happening. We're going to stop on YouTube. Bye, YouTube.